Okay, guys, I'm sorry. I was just trying to make sure because every time I mess up the recording for this and everything in some type of way, they say, "Oh, Mr. Price, you only got 30 seconds. Mr. Price, 15." But so that's what I was trying to do right now. Try to get you out of here at 2:55. Things that are said here is very, applies to the the next quiz coming up, and sometimes too, just because I do send out video, it's things not said in class or too. So it's kind of like a supplement to the classes already, because I only see you like every other day in alternate Fridays, and a lot of times on alternate Fridays I like to give you project work time instead of just really APUSH time. So for that, for you can do that. So that's why it is kind of vital that you guys are here. And some people do better by being here instead of looking at recording if they can make it here. So thank you guys for being here. And this is a good showing. And hopefully you guys can make it as many times as you can next Wednesday. So, all right, good. French and Indian War. This is time to get to that right now. What you should be thinking about in APUSH is that I've taken American History 1. I know really the Revolutionary War. How much can I learn in detail for the French and Indian War? Not saying so much the dates, but something that's a little bit more significant. Two things you keep in mind here. That's very general that you see here. The duel for North America by European powers. What are the European powers that are dueling here? Yes. France, England, and Spain. All right. Now, even though the primary, combatants will be the French and the English at this time here. While over there in Europe, you don't need to really notice, but if you want to write things down just because it just focus your attention, that's fine too. You got the French and the Austrians together, all right, and the English and the Prussians slash the Germans together over there in Europe. All right, and it's over there is more known as the Seven Years' War. Over here is known as the French and Indian War. People were asking about this the other day. It's like 1754, while Georgie Porgy Puddin' Pie is over there messing up things in 1754. We don't get official declaration of war till 1756. That's why it's like 7 years, 9 years. What is going on here with this war? The main thing is the duel. But I say to you now, and this is how we get into APUSH. What is the kind of like the American empire that's fighting the French and the British, who has a stake into North America as well? What empire is here? And this is kind of alluded to on the video here, huh? What empire? And we don't think of it as an empire. And everybody's looking for empire. If you think about empire, it's about resources, it's about enriching one, it's about kind of like having some kind of economic control in here. All right. Yes. The what? The Iroquois. Very good. That's very good. It's the Iroquois that is the power here. You see again here that Tanner Greaston, the half king, is the one that's kind of like playing off. Of, you guys should have seen the video. That he's playing off like in the powers here. So you tell me just real quickly here. So why do you think most of the Native Americans at this time, like here, like the Huron, like the Ojibwe, like the Shawnee, are maybe favoring at this time a little bit more the French than the British? Can we have some good specific reasons for this? Why they would say, "Hey, this is a time to ally with the French." But do you understand? Just I'm sorry about this. The Iroquois are trying to they may switch alliances. They're trying to see how they can do this. And the Iroquois also pushing, has some like pushing Indians off and again, gaining lands too as well as the empire. Go ahead, Andy. Yeah, the trading relations with the French seems to be more co-equal and more to be mutually beneficial more than with the British. It's another negative factor as the if you're going to have the British dominate at this time in the Ohio River Valley. What would be the kind of negative kind of thing here that you kind of be a consequence here? that ironically the British are going to try to prevent in 1763. But what do they know? Yes, the settlers. All right. What we have now, and I bet you we don't think about this, is a lot of Native American refugees. All right. You don't have to know so much the specific name. It's always good to know. You know, Aiden said the key one here with the Iroquois, but you have a lot of the Lenape, Delaware. The Huron are pushed off by the Iroquois, you know? And who are the Iroquois going to side with eventually here with the French and Indian War? The British or the French? The British. All right, it is confusing a lot of that, so that's good to know that the Iroquois are siding with the British. They're a major ally here, you know, particularly the Mohawk in here is going to side with the British, and they kind of again are playing off with the Half King, even though he he abandons Washington at Fort Necessity. He's like, we're gonna like kind of go, and it's like, this doesn't look like it's too protective here. Like again, the French are gonna be back. See ya, peace out. Like again, so and that's why they sided with. Go ahead. What would Britain like? The Iroquois already have been already making treaties with Great Britain to expand their empire, so they have more friendly relations with them. They push the Huron really out of the area. The Huron says, "Hey, now it's time for revenge by siding with the French at this time." All right, all the major big idea is that Native Americans are kind of, in a somewhat difficult situation, almost no win situation in a way, except for maybe possibility is the Iroquois because they look very somewhat the strongest at this time. All right, to kind of like maybe make a play. You got, again, the Half King who's Seneca, who's part of the, Confederation here, is maybe able to do something here. All right, so. And I want you to think about this. See if you guys can think about because this did go into it. Looking at the time period of American History One that you study, this war is actually really closely related to another war, and it's not the Revolutionary War. What war is this really very much related to? If you think about it, if you look at it and you see like the places, the groups, the people, that it's going to be a almost somewhat repeat of the 7 Years' War. What war is that? Like, again, that you want to take maybe an educated guess? Go ahead. Yes, it is. Why would you say that, Kosh? Why would you? Yes, yes. Now it's time to kind of like, hey, remember us? I know, you know, Pontiac's rebellion. I know that like we can able keep the colonists out, but hey, we're gonna give you some arms, and we're gonna actually like, maybe start some things here. Maybe you can get some, again, some revenge. Tecumseh is going to try to unite the tribes. And again, APUSH is about going 20 years ahead, 20 years back, giving historical context of here. And what is the context of the French and the British fighting? Give me some historical context for them to be kind of starting around 1754 for dueling for North America here as a two primary parts. What is the context? And this is something that we said that we needed to know. Go ahead, Caitlin. Did you? The context between again, you do have that. You have a strongly Protestant nation against a strongly Catholic nation. And most of the British English colonists over here in America are strongly Protestant. You have that. That's very good. And what else is the context? Yes. Very, very. We have a series again of wars, here of three kind of like skirmishes here of King William's War, Queen Anne's, and King George's II War. It's a little confusing. George II, he takes a pass in 1760. That's before the end of the French and Indian War. And he said, oh, George III. And he's the major player, of course, in the Revolutionary War. on here. And that is the context that they're already competing. But it's a little bit not a world war that involves all the major continents at this time. It's a little bit less, not as costly. What am I foreshadowing about the French and Indian War? That is going to be what? Costly, very much expensive, going all out. And again, it's funny that Great Britain is going to go over the war really over George Washington almost in a way and everything, and they feel like they can afford it. Here's a pattern: you go to war, countries go to war when they can afford it. All right, so that's the thing is countries go to war when they can afford it. You're like, oh, Mr. Price, but we're engaging in war. Can we afford things like that? Well, we really don't go into a major war until really the Spanish American War when we feel like we can afford it in a way. It's time to have one. You have really a lot of peace besides the Civil War that's in there. All right. Now, let's just parse this out a little bit again before getting into detail, because like some of the things what happened in the beginning. We'll get to the beginning and those causes in here. What about it's the war that made America, the title of the video? Why is that? Let's first list the things here into your head because you've already known this, which is really good a review. Why would this war make America? And I'm going to do the counterpoint to that and everything. Why did this make America? Why does this war make America? What is this that already Akash had kind of alluded to? What are some of the things that make this America? Something that Miriam had already mentioned about what we talked about in class about all the other wars. How is this making this more united colonies or eventually the United States? What is going on here? What are some of the things here, some of the effects of this war that will cause us to do kind of like, maybe like say can come together as colonies? Uh, is but okay, you've already kind of answering this for me in a way. Well, go ahead, Lena. Hang on. They started to have more of a presence in here. So we already know this from Proclamation 1763. If France is out, of like really North America in a way, well, you're going to have more of a British presence even around. You're going to have laws like the Proclamation 1763 in here. You're going to have the British troops in here as a defense. So, in turn, you're going to have the colonies kind of just coming together as kind of being apprehensive about this British presence. But again, what are these wars from, Williams and Anne and French and Indian War given the colonies? What are some of the experiences that would make the obvious kind of thing that's making of America here? What is going on here? Go ahead. Taxation is one that's going to kind of, because as a result of this war, it's going to kind of unite, some of the colonies. Anything else here that we said in class, I think yesterday that like, what are some of the experiences in these wars? What are some of the experiences in these wars by the colonists, the wars themselves? What is that like, they're going to see and experience? Like they're going to say, hey, we are like, hey, you know what? We don't. Here's the thing it's great to be part of Britain. Who has the superior culture? Britain. All right. Who is like, who do you want to be? You want to be British. You want to be aristocrat. You know, it's funny how the British, you guys always don't think they're doing this. They always make fun of the Americans. Why do you think Braddock came over here? Because Washington's like, doo, 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 you know, because they're saying, well, let me go over and teach these hillbillies, these country bumpkins, how to fight. But what is going on here and everything? Go ahead, Lane. The British were not the most sophisticated, invincible fighting force. George Washington has to serve under Braddock and under Thomas Gage, another all-star that's just, as you guys seen, foreshadows the Revolutionary War. All the colonial officers have to be below rank of like, second lieutenant or whatever their officer corps is. And that's pretty, resentful. Why aren't they fighting for it? Look at that capture. You had some colonists capture Fort Louisburg, like again over there. So in Cape Breton, like again, one of the wars, you had them already fighting. You already had these certain, like, colonies have militias. So why couldn't they do that? All right. So why they would be gaining confidence from this war, and that's going to make them more, again, um, give them more confidence about joining together. So that's what. But we have to take, and I think maybe this is good. Why you had apprehension? It really is a question mark. Does it make America? There is something in 1754 that says, well, it's kind of bringing colonies together, but actually the result is they don't come together. And you think about always, a lot of people say, a lot of history books say, we're not really America until 1865. Why do I say 1865? What is that like? Go ahead. The end of the Civil War, and some people might even say even in 2019. But I mean, for the most part, like again, everything, what really has kind of made us even come more together in the 20th century is technology, transportation, things that way. So you're always going to see that. I always say this, you're going to have a, it's more urban and rural instead of state to state. I know, but we'll come together as America 1861. What in 1754, after all the Washington excursion in there that's happening in the summer, what is Mr. Ben Franklin trying to do? He's already like, Dina, do you want to like just go ahead and just kind of don't worry about like this is the correct answer. I am saying now this is from the textbook. I'm not worried about that. It doesn't do anybody good in here to get always, correct things. Yes, it was the Albany Planning Union. Very good. All right, because I just saw you just feel like, hey, I guess it's the Albany Plan of the Union. But what do we know? Some details here. Ben Franklin makes that, since first grade, I think, again, with the, American rattlesnake, all the division, they're going to use in the Revolutionary War and everything, unite or die, like that and everything. And then he travels like again to Albany. How does that kind of work out? He says, I want to form a grand council. All right. And then there's going to be, a general like president from Great Britain who's going to command us. And this way we, again, we're going to like, unite as colonies. First, who attends out of the present 13 colonies? You want to take a guess out of a number. You can even take a percentage if you want to, or go ahead. Seven. That's great. Six. You would not. This is another thing about APUSH. If you were writing down like in an essay like only six, like you would not be like you are wrong if you're writing a short answer in an essay. That's really great. All right. You don't always have to hit the exact number. All right. So even with the Albany Plan of the Union, if somebody said 1755, you would not be counted wrong. All right. So that's the thing is you can be around like certain dates or certain numbers in there. And it's kind of go ahead, Mary. Sure. What is going on that he's hearing news of and everything in Ohio Valley? Fighting. And he's British. They're all British subjects. Well, how can the American colonies kind of like get in on this and everything and help like, our country, but being over here in America? How can we help? Well, maybe if we're united, like William Penn had actually said in the 1690s, they're both like Quakers or from Pennsylvania, just form some kind of like, again, some kind of colonial kind of cooperation. He gets the idea from him, he gets the idea from the Iroquois about forming this. But what? Go ahead, Leah. It took away. They are scared, just like why we have the Articles Federation of a strong central power. They love decentralized government. You have to use these terms. You can't just say like, again, like, well, they're scared of like a big government. You have to do like decentralized. They're scared of like some kind of concentrated power over government. Next thing you know, they're going to have to be paying taxes, which on top of taxes. And by the way, isn't that what our like revenue is for already? Is for them to send the Navy over here in London to take care of this? I hear Braddock is coming over anyway. Those guys, they're the best army in the world. So why should we vote? How many people of the seven that came there voted for this plan? Did anyone want to take a guess? Zero. So you really, right here, you could use this again as an example. It's like, well, in a argument on a thesis, if you're writing in a paper that we're not, the United States of America, from the Albany Plan of Union, unsuccessful. Articles of Confederation, all the kind of sectionalism that goes on in the 19th century. These are all things that go together and all things that line up that you start learning now, even in this section on here. So that's the Albany Plan of the Union. Unsuccessful. Some people will say it's a good first attempt. All right. I would contend that maybe the first Great Awakening is a little bit better about getting American identity than almost the Albany Plan of the Union at this time. All right. So these are some like, again, big ideas that's coming in here that we're not like a United States. We're not even a United Colonies at this time on here. The thing is, the reason why probably like the events with George Washington, I have you see, instead of like, well, Mr. Price, the fall of Quebec, the fall of like, what happened with the French and Fort William Henry. You don't really need to know too much about those things. Just know that, again, that the French had success in the beginning. By 1757, though, who comes in as like, prime minister and says, look, we're fighting a world war. I know we need troops over here, all right? But it might be best to send a lot of troops over to the Americas and also reimburse colonial legislators because actually Pennsylvania is saying like we don't have a militia, we don't even have a law. We're Quakers. Oh, don't hit us. No, I mean really like that. And Virginia's like, oh, we're paying enough taxes. It's like, wait a minute, you're kind of like primary in this like that. Yeah, but who wants to pay taxes? I know none of your family is like saying, oh, can't wait to pay those taxes. Those are the best. You never hear that when they're paying that. You hear some stuff under their breath. I always love it when families can speak another language, especially when they're calling you names. They always use them, profanity. I just love it. They just, they're saying some bad stuff. But they feel like it's not English. It's like, it's all okay. I just love it though. They can just rattle some bad. I say I don't know what they're saying, but they're saying some bad things about you, or they're saying some bad things that they're expressing. But so taxes, they don't want to do that, with the taxes here and everything. But who is the guy? William Pitt and everything like that. It says stop treating all the like colonials, like again bad to try to treat them as like respect and fire. Again, you have British again, the colonials and others are British too. Again, punishing people, like the soldiers like they would usually do, flog and all that. Now look, George Washington is going to do the same. That at Valley Forge and everything. People are like, hey, look, I'm out of here, man. I'm freezing. And he makes examples out of them. I'm not trying to say they're like that one extreme to the other, but they definitely see that like, well, you know what? This kind of like, what makes that person, what makes Braddock, what makes Gage, what makes General Wolfe like again so like in command, and we said this thing, it's just inheritance. Again, there's noticing differences here. So you get this pick kind of knowing that changes the tide of war, and they finalized the fall of Quebec in the end of 1763 with the Treaty of Paris. That like again that you get so many treaties of Paris. There's going to be about 4 or 5 here in the history. You got this one ends the French and Indian War. Before I get to the kind of details about that, let me go back in the first 5 minutes. Why is it that what does the Washington thing kind of show? Besides, it's kind of just somewhat very interesting in a way. how he really starts the war and he signs this kind of confession. I love the video portrayal of him. May not be that accurate, but it kind of really want to show how green he is, how naive he is, how kind of really, again, he's not the most intellectual person. Like, what did he say? What should I do? And the Afghan is like, oh, the French are coming, strike. He's like, oh, fire. Like that. And he's like, when am I signing? So he signs on, ironically, July 4th, 1754. It's like, oh, yes, I did, like, really commit murder on a French diplomat. You know, he does that. To see Washington do that and everything, how he kind of really starts the war. You see here that as Fort Duquesne turns into Fort Pitt, turns into Pittsburgh. You see that kind of evolution right there. Now, and I thought it was, the last, like, when he returns with Braddock in here. So, what are the mistakes that Braddock makes into this war here? Now we're kind of going to see a preview of the kind of Revolutionary War in a way with this kind of thing here with Braddock. That's why I think it was important. What is Braddock's attitude about the Native Americans, like maybe helping the British? Right. Now a lot of this stuff comes from Ben Franklin. Ben Franklin never tells a lie. Boy, like that. So he kind of said this about, like, wrote about 20 years. They try to downplay Washington's ineptitude, like again, in the beginning, and they try to say that, like, Braddock was dismissive, like made the British like that, kind of like, later on seemed kind of like, already, totally inept. But he does not seem to kind of really put emphasis on that. He's trying to build a road to Fort Duquesne. Take some time here. And how can somebody tell me what's the kind of in conflict? They split forces. Thomas Gage is there. What happened? Somebody give me a quick summary in this last kind of 2 minutes. Go ahead, Mary. Yes. Right. And there, instead of just go ahead, please. Right. The Indians are like what we call shooting and scooting. I don't want to. I know you've heard since first grade all the guerrilla warfare. I don't want to do that. It's more ambush, and the British are going to learn from this eventually, but not in the beginning with Braddock. They're just going to be doing that volley fire, and we know, hopefully, that you know by now why they have to do that. Because again, it's like I'm shooting at Kosh, and it's like again, I hit Caitlin because like again, the bullets. They have to do that concentrated fire in there, and they're on the traditional tactics, but they get wiped out in the beginning here. Now, what I want to do just the last 2 minutes is just, again, I always say this, the magic of George Washington. I was just sorry telling his mutant powers. And I'm going to tell you, because Washington, what they don't show in the video, he's suffering from really like a kind of a, you know, how can I say this? Really, you know, a light bout of really dysentery where he's really laying down for the most part all the way up until he gets into the conflict. He is really like, sick. Now, he, again, gets on a horse. 2 horses are shot out from under him. All right. And again, there's a lot of accounts and everything. And also, Native Americans, they don't care about who they're shooting at. They're not like, oh, well, he's a leader. It's only honorable that I don't shoot the leader. And all the Native Americans who, like, eventually taught the George Washington Revolutionary War said, we know you. You're known as the leveled one. What do you mean by level one? Meaning that we leveled our guns to fire at you and we cannot hit you. He said, yes, I remember that day I had 4 shots, I said, again, through my coat, but I was not hit. Yes, we do also remember that too, that you were not hit. We're not that bad of a shots because we leveled our fire. And I was just talking to somebody about, just looking ahead at the last minute to just give you some other kind of trivia. He battled Princeton. All right. It is 1777. They're after the British. He's between 2 lines. and he says fire, he should be dead. All right, he's not. By saying there, I don't know what mutant powers that he has. He's trying to, again, escape from General Howe from New York. So, oh man, we need a big fog, and Washington goes, ooh. And the next thing you know, there's a big fog. All right. Also, too, his mom was struck by lightning while she was pregnant with him. So you should. I've only. These are just a few kind of like stories. There's more. There is more. So watch out for Washington. I'm telling you. And I kind of trust the Native Americans when somebody says, like, oh, I don't know, there's something a little freaky going on here about him. It might not be the sharpest knife in the drawer, but something's going on. Good that you took the show. I want to get you guys out here. Thank you for